Happy Winter Carnival. I'm Dale Fawthrop, Councilor for the town of Amherst. And I'm a very fortunate person because not only am I Councilor for the town of Amherst, but I have a second personality. And that second personality is Norman Albert Code, who has the show on CFTA 107.9 called This Is When. And if you've been following that show, you know that Norman Albert Code has an Aunt Fanny. Aunt Fanny is the traditional loving aunt who looked after me many years ago. And there's a saying that it takes a village to raise a child. But in our family, we said it takes Aunt Fanny to raise a village. And Aunt Fanny gave me this celebration edition of the Amherst Daily News, published in June of 1967. And she said that there will come a time when I will need what she has hidden in there. And I think that now is the time, because what she hid in there was a traditional family recipe. The traditional family recipe for family bread. And you know, some people will say this recipe or this bread is to die for. Well, we didn't accept that in our family. It was to live for. And just like the Amherst Winter Carnival being held on February 17th to 21st, one of the events is sharing our family recipes. So I'm going to share for you today our to live for bread from Aunt Fanny's recipe. So first we need a silver bowl. And then we need a 1 cup measure. And I take this 1 cup measure, put it into whole wheat flour. Shake it so it's completely full but not over full. Put the 1 cup of whole wheat flour in. Then I take 4 cups of regular flour. Did you ever listen to my radio show, This Is When? On CFTA 107.9 at 9 o'clock and 4 o'clock? And I think this is the 4th cup. I almost lost control here. There we go. Now, the next ingredient. You may have heard of the kilted chef, Alain Bossé. Well, Alain Bossé sent me one of these salt pigs, and so I keep my salt in there. So the next recipe, along with the flour, is some salt. I like to do what the chefs do. You make the salt rain gently onto the flour. Now, of course, yeast. Every bread needs yeast, and I'm almost at the end. There we put a tablespoonful of yeast. So we put 1 cup of whole wheat flour, 4 cups of regular flour, a sprinkling of salt, and a tablespoonful, almost caught me there, a tablespoonful of yeast. Now, I used to knead this by hand. And I love the feel of the yeast and the bread and the dough in my hands, but I make such a much smoother, more textured loaf using flour. Using the dough hook. So I started up going. Then I take my cup, go over to the tap. Check the water. You don't want it too hot, because if it's too hot, it's going to kill your yeast. And if it's too cold, your yeast will not work. Like, who of us wants to work in the cold? Yeast doesn't want to work in the cold. So, if you've had a child before, or bathed a child, you have a certain temperature that is just right. And so, 1 cup, 2 cups, and a little dash will do you. Now, while this is going on, while it's beating, I leave that for 5 or 6 minutes. Then, after 5 or 6 minutes, I go over to the cupboard over here, and I come back with my loaf pan. Now, the loaf pan has to be sprayed. There we go. After 5 or 6 minutes of the dough hook kneading and mulching and using that flour and that yeast and the salt and the water and getting it all nice and gooey into one ball. I'm going to let it sit in a bowl until it doubles in size. We're not going to wait 3 or 4 hours. I'm just going to tell you what we do. It waits 3 or 4 hours. It's double in size. Then I put it here in the pan and let it sit again for another couple of hours until it rises again. Then our oven, we set the oven at bake 425, and because I need a timer to help me, I will set the timer for 35 minutes. And once the oven is hot, I put the bread in for 35 minutes, and it will come as a whole loaf. This is, of course, only half a loaf. Some people say I have half a loaf, but I think I have a whole loaf. And here we are. And I hope that you enjoy Winter Carnival. I hope you get involved in some of the contests, February 17th to 21st. And go on the town website. Look at the different contests. There's snowshoeing, guided snowshoeing tours. They're sharing winter pictures. There's 2 or 3 different contests sharing our favorite family recipes. And this one is thanks to my Aunt Fanny.